Star Wars only, I don't know what the fuck your problem is.
We Star Wars fans still have a lot of questions coming out of the sequel trilogy. A common question is, how did the First Order come to be, and what happened in that 30-year time gap between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens? In an interview with Entertainment Weekly, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni talk about their new live-action Star Wars show called The Mandalorian. In this interview, they reveal the show will explore the origins of the First Order that fans have been asking for. Here's what Dave Filoni had to say: "This doesn't turn into a good guy universe because you blew up 2 Death Stars. You get that the rebels won and they're trying to establish a republic, but there's no way that could have set in for everybody all at once. You have in a Western where you're out in the frontier and there might be a Washington and they might have some marshals, but sometimes good luck finding one." And Jon Favreau added a tease here by saying, "Also, what could happen in 30 years between celebrating the defeat of the Empire and then the First Order? You come out in Episode 7, the First Order not just starting out, they're pretty far along. So somehow things weren't necessarily managed as well as they could have been if the galaxy ended up in hot water like that again." And the article actually gives a paragraph on explaining the First Order and how it might tie into The Mandalorian and what we already know about the First Order in the new expanded universe under Disney. They say there has been an explanation for the rise of the First Order in the expanded universe. The books Star Wars Aftermath by Chuck Wendig and Star Wars Bloodline by Claudia Gray told of how Imperial remnants fled to the Outer Rim, waged a cold war against the New Republic, and solidified into the First Order 6 years before the events of The Force Awakens. The Mandalorian plans to use elements from across the Skywalker Saga films, the Clone Wars, and other animated series and the expanded universe in its storytelling. Now, this is one of the reasons I'm personally looking forward to The Mandalorian the most compared to the other Star Wars projects that are going to come out in the future. It takes place right after Return of the Jedi. You have a lot of possibilities in terms of storytelling in that 30-year time frame before The Force Awakens, and it looks like Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are using that time gap to explore planets and characters that we've never seen before, but also trying to implement it and tie it into a story that we've already seen and we already know. If anything, it looks like Lucasfilm is really putting a lot of their efforts into the show, The Mandalorian. It is the first Star Wars show that will debut on the Disney streaming service Disney Plus, which launches November 12th, and that also shows the confidence that Lucasfilm and Disney have in this project that they have in someone like Jon Favreau. There are 10 episodes in total for Season 1 that will be released weekly on Disney Plus, and Jon Favreau is already writing a Season 2. So to me, this show is the future of Star Wars, at least the near future of Star Wars. When we take a break from the films later this year after The Rise of Skywalker, we're going to do another film in December 2020. That's the start of the new trilogy from David Benioff and D.B. Weiss, God help us. But the big question is, will fans of Star Wars come out in waves for this new show? Will they come out and subscribe to Disney Plus solely for the sake of Star Wars? Don't forget that the Clone Wars show had a really rough start with the awful movie that came out in 2008 in its first season. I mean, a lot of fans were not happy with Clone Wars and upset with a lot of stuff that it was doing when it first came out. But after a few seasons, after a few years at least, and time went on, people fell in love with it. People really do enjoy the Clone Wars, and you can see the fandom being behind it right now, a decade later, and I think that's a good sign for something like The Mandalorian. But the problem is Disney can't really afford to wait a few seasons and wait a few years for people to really appreciate The Mandalorian. It cost a reported $100 million on its first season alone. That's $10 million in episodes. That's why they're putting it out on launch day, to bring in subscribers that have an interest in this show. And by releasing it weekly, you can keep your audience intrigued on the next episode without binge watching it the entire season in one night like you would do on Netflix and Stranger Things. And in turn, this also keeps your subscribers around a lot more if they enjoy the content. They're going to stay for those weekly updates on the shows, and that's going to keep them around for many months. If The Mandalorian is a great show and it can bring Star Wars fans in for that monthly service, they can cover the cost of that $100 million real easily. I mean, no problem at all. I think that's why they're having Star Wars content released constantly on this new streaming service over the next 3 years on Disney Plus, so they can keep Star Wars fans like us happy with new content. Because the goal for us Star Wars fans is to get our money's worth, and I think starting the first live-action show in Star Wars by covering this new era after Return of the Jedi is a great move. It's a great start to these shows, and the fact that this show has Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni involved is a big sign that it has a lot of potential to be a fan favorite even the day it launches. You don't have to wait for a few seasons like the Clone Wars for people to catch on and start enjoying it a lot more. So I'm pretty excited for this new show because it's something new, and from everything that I've seen, it's got the Star Wars vibe that I'm looking for while also expanding on the universe and stories that we already know. But what do you think about the show's potential, and are you interested in learning more about the origins of the First Order from this show? I think that's a lot of potential right there. But tell me your thoughts below. What do you guys think about this? Are you going to subscribe to Disney Plus to watch The Mandalorian, or are you going to wait a little bit and see how things go first? Tell me your thoughts below. I'm Star Wars Only. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please leave a like because it does help out the channel. I'll see y'all next time. May the Force be with you, always.